Yeah, we had a lot to talk about. NASCAR. I saw the end of the Richmond 400 Sunday night. Austin Dillon was chasing down the leaders, and the race got red flagged with 2 laps to go because of accidents. So they restart, and Austin Dillon is fighting to try to get to the lead. Joey Logano jumps to the lead with 1 lap to go. Denny Hamlin is right there with him. And Austin Dillon, who hadn't won in 21 straight races over 2 years, was in 3rd place. So Austin Dillon gets up on the back bumper of Logano with a lap to go and taps him. Everybody that's called draft bumping does it. He hit him so hard, he put him on the wall. And then, as everybody was fishtailing, Denny Hamlin took the lead, and he hit Hamlin, knocked Hamlin out. Austin Dillon goes to the finish line, gets a checkered flag. Then we find out on the headset, just as the restart is starting, whoever is a spotter tells Dillon, wreck him. With instructions, take these guys out so you can get the win to qualify for the NASCAR playoffs, which are coming up. A lot of money involved. So Dillon did it. And then Dillon was defiant in the post-race interview. He says, if you were driving, what would you do? As if that legitimizes what he did. Anyhow, NASCAR reviewed the whole episode this week, and yesterday they revoked. They didn't take the win away. He kept the win and the prize money. But because he got the win, he'd automatically go to the playoffs. They revoked the chance to go to the playoffs. So he's still not qualified for the playoffs. And then they also docked him and the owner 50 points for what they did because he impacted the integrity of the end of the race by intentionally wrecking those guys. It'll be interesting this week. They go to Michigan. I wonder if there'll be any payback for Austin Dillon in the Michigan 400. So he got that. Overnight, this happened in the middle of the night. U.S. World Cup soccer team has a new head coach. You know, they kind of got stung because they thought they had the chance to get Jurgen Klopp from the English Premier League, who's decided, I'm going to stay retired. I'm not coming out of retirement. In the middle of the night, they hired Argentine coach Mauricio Pochettino, former head coach at former head coach at Chelsea, Hotspur, Paris Saint-Germain. Guy's got a nice track record. The guy plays attack football, soccer. The guy has developed stars like Harry Kane, Luke Shaw, Cole Palmer, and Dele Alli. Got a great track record. So he comes to the U.S., and he's a player's coach. He's very effervescent, very flamboyant, and they push the ball and they play physical up front. This is going to be fun because what does he inherit? Christian Pulisic and a bunch of young guns. I can't wait to see how Reyna, how Balogun, how Weston McKennie, all the other young guys play with Pulisic in a brand new system. Coach has got himself a really good reputation. So that's kind of cool. By the way, speaking of football, aka soccer, English Premier League opens this Friday. You make sure you're up at 4:30 Friday morning to watch the opening game.
Here we go.
Big story, obviously, the changing of coaches. There's 5 new coaches in the EPL. And, of course, Jurgen Klopp retiring at Liverpool. That's going to be interesting to watch. PGA LIV. The PGA just put out their 2025 schedule. It includes no new events. It includes nothing in terms of linkage with the LPGA. It does not open the door from anybody from the LIV to come play in regular season tournaments. And people are asking, we're almost to fall of 2024, and you've been talking for 2 years, and you don't have this merger done. It's absolutely amazing. Rory McIlroy confirmed yesterday that the PGA negotiating team meets 3 times a week on Zoom calls with the LIV, and they have still not resolved all the issues. Wow. Who's going to run the European Tour? Who's going to guide the LPGA? Do we open the door to allow the Dustin Johnsons and the DeChambeaus and the Mickelsons to come back? Is there a penalty payment for what they did to the PGA if we let them back? None of this has been resolved at all. It's absolutely stunning 2 years in, they're no closer. By the way, Phil Mickelson, we talked about this on Monday, has indicated he's been approached to join the negotiating side of the LIV. I think Mickelson is the heir apparent to replace Greg Norman, who everybody hates. He's the one that created this whole mess.
Right.
So maybe Mickelson gets on board and he'd negotiate across the table with Rory McIlroy and the other PGA players to try to solve the situation. But, John, they made no progress at all. And the last note is a basketball note. Unless you're a basketball junkie, you might not recognize who this person is. This guy was a star in the 50s. He was a number 1 pick in the NBA draft. His name was Frank Selvy. He was a big shooting guard, played at small college Furman in South Carolina. He just passed away at the age of 88. Frank Selvy played for the Lakers, played for the Celtics for about 9 years back in the day, in the 50s. He scored 100 points, all-time record in college basketball.
Wow.
100 points in a Division I game, 41 baskets. This is before the three-point shot.
Right.
41 baskets in a 40-minute college basketball game. Yeah. He just passed away. 100-point game in 1954.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so John, I threw a lot here on the wall. Go ahead. You can be a redneck. You can be a soccer fan. Go ahead from Saudi Arabia. Give me your opinion on the LIV.
I want to be a redneck. Okay, so let's talk NASCAR. Now, they said wreck 'em, and this, it's like guys throwing elbows, when they're getting near the finish line. Do you think what he did was illegal? It's certainly unethical, but is it illegal?
Bump drafting is not illegal. But bump drafting the way he did, where he hit the guy went sideways, and he drove into his back bumper to spin him off.
Oh, just kind of nudged him out of the
way.
way.
Yeah, big time. Okay. And then Hamlin ducks beneath him. Hamlin's in front, and he hits Hamlin from the rear, puts him in the upper wall. Now, his defiance in the post-race interview was, "You're the driver. What would you do? I'm trying to qualify for the NASCAR playoffs." So it was right there at the end. I think that got him as much hot water as the bump drafting, but it happens. It's racing, but at high speeds, and the fact that everybody's fighting now to get into the playoffs, there's only a couple races left before the big money playoffs begin. Right. Oh, it did not go well down in the pits.
It reminds me of Cole Trickle and Days of Thunder.
You got it.
So it's all good. It's very entertaining. Team USA, this is interesting about the coach, because I read about it just earlier this morning, and this is a big upgrade over Bruce Arena. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, but I get you're going to argue with me, I'm sure. I'm not so sure that we needed to get rid of Berhalter because he had laid the foundation with all these young guys coming in, and to me, the expectation was awful high to have a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds playing with Christian Pulisic and expect them to do well at the Copa level. I might be in the minority. I'm sure some soccer fan out there is going to corner kick me and say, "You're so full of crap." I would have stayed with Berhalter because these were his guys and he had laid the foundation. Now, Pochettino, that's good track record. The guys that I ran through that he has developed in the EPL, that's pretty impressive. So, but he's not an American. There's the language limitation there, so that's kind of different. But I guess he earns it. He's never coached at a quote international level. He has coached at the club level, where he has access to those players for the whole bloody calendar year. Mm-hmm. The international thing, the World Cup thing, is so different because in non-World Cup years, you don't have access to the international players except when there's a short window where you can bring them in practice, and then you might play Copa, or you play the Gold Cup, which comes up next in the 2025 schedule. So that it's different for Pochettino to take over because he won't have access to those players on a day in, day out basis like he had at Chelsea or at Hotspur.
I like it, though. I mean, this guy is kind of not as big as Jurgen Klopp, but he's sort of in that ballpark.
His track record, his resume is more impressive than mine and yours.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then just quickly on the other comments, I mean, I am just shocked about PGA LIV can't get this thing to merge. But you talked about how they didn't even do any sort of a merger or coordination with the LPGA. Now, what is that potentially going to look like?
Well, one of the conversations was, we would incorporate and take over and market and run LPGA. And a byproduct of that would be we would do something really creative in Europe or in the Pacific Rim. Because remember, this merger is supposed to be for global golf. It's everybody. It's just not the PGA Tour at Torrey Pines or anything like that. It's everywhere. And what they're proposing, and I don't know whether it came from the PGA side or it came from the LIV, was, okay, we're going to operate LPGA, which needs help in terms of sponsorship and notoriety. and we're going to take some LPGA events and make them joint events with the PGA and the LIV, and maybe let them all play together.
That's
or maybe
awesome.
maybe they play a best ball tournament together.
Yeah.
But they haven't gotten there, and they've been meeting for 2 solid years on this. And that's just one of the creative aspects that has been hard to finalize. The other thing is, what's the price that Phil Mickelson and all these other guys have to pay to get back into this fraternity? Because look what they did to the fraternity. John, you violated your PGA Tour card. I'm supposed to open up the door and welcome you with open arms?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do like the idea of integrating the women into this, because there are a lot of legit stars in the LPGA,
sure.
and then there's a lot of eye candy in the LPGA as well. And I think they could make that work. And I like that sort of best ball scramble pairs, mixed doubles kind of thing. That sounds fun.
So this is the PGA's commissioner said, because he was asked on a Zoom call, why is there no deal done? He says, it is just very complicated. And I assume, there's a whole pile of things listed that we got to solve. And the last one to me is I think the big thing, because I mean, guys like Scotty Scheffler, who are very influential, we are not letting them back in as if nothing happened.
These guys got to get over themselves and just find a way to kind of bring this whole thing together, because they're killing the golden goose. The final comment, this Frank Selvy guy, I had never heard of him. And then in the best 15 this morning, you were writing about him. And I'm like, dude, this guy's got a legit track record. I had never even heard of him.
Yeah, everybody remembers Wilt Chamberlain's Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, like 1962.
Yeah.
100 points.
Against the New York Knicks for the Philadelphia Warriors. And,
the Warriors. That's right.
And I had remembered Selvy because he scored 100. That was a long time ago. Now, there's a small college record. There's a kid from West Virginia at either Division II or NAIA. I want to say scored 132 points in a game, maybe a decade ago. But that's small college. He was a 3-point shooting specialist. He scored 132.
I don't know how you can physically fit all that into a 40-minute game in college.
Just feed you the ball every time.
Yeah, that's what's got.
And that's what it was. But Frank Selvy was the first one. He did it, obviously, in Division I basketball. Hey, it's time for Fans Forum. Our podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. 9 stores to serve you in San Diego. You got need for materials, they've got that. You want some ideas, they can help you with that too. Dixieline Lumber. John, do you